Thank you very much.
Thank you.
I'm doing okay today. Hi, I am doing okay today.
Okay, sound check. The Phantom of the Movies awarded you Best Alien for Dark City. What do you think about this?
I think to get any kind of accolade from any direction is always good for actors. Actors are always very insecure, and we always think we're a load of shit. And we never think we get enough kind of, smacks on the back. And yeah, I was delighted. There was a part I was really delighted to do because the director, when I met the director, he said, I have to say that actually when I was writing this part, I was thinking of you for this very, very part. And when I came to England to do the casting, and they said, we got you coming along, he said, I couldn't believe my luck. And so I didn't even really have to audition for it, truthfully. And I was so delighted to be there and play that role. I'd like to have played the end. I'd like to redo the last scene, if I could.
How would you like to redo it?
Just a little bit more manic, a little bit more broken down. I would like to have gone a little bit more to the edge with that last scene, but I didn't want to go over the edge with it.
Mm-hmm.
And I felt that I felt that I'd had too much of a control on it, too much of a grip on it, because I didn't want it to become cliche ham. And it was one of those scenes that, if you're not very careful, could turn into that kind of eggy. And I didn't want it to be that way.
How do you prepare for a role like that?
You get pissed every night, and you smoke a lot of dope, and you stay up late, and you have a lot of sex, and you see, I was supposed to be, if you're familiar with the film, I was supposed to be an alien inside the body of a dead human being. And so the worse I looked, the better I looked. And consequently, I used to watch the sun come up every morning when I was filming. I was out there for 5 months in Australia, and every night I was up, every night. And sometimes I'd be up for something like 48 hours, and the car would come and take me to the set, and I'd go and do the gig. And the worse I looked, the more done in I looked, the better that they liked it. So I was happy. I was having a great time. And I was justifying all my bad behavior and my excessive behavior in the name of art.
When you were flying, how was that achieved? That wasn't digital. You were on wires? Or?
When's that?
The scenes when you were flying.
I was on wires, yeah.
Is there any funny stories about that? Anything weird?
No, they got very kind of like stunt people very worried about it. But what's the problem? People have been flying on wires for years. On stage, for God's sake, on single wires. There's got a wire on either side of you in a harness. Where am I going to go? What's the problem? The thing was just to try and make it look as if you as natural as possible. The other difficulty was I had extended fingers inside the gloves I was wearing, so that was always difficult, because your touch is very, very important, and you get that taken away from you, and it does make life difficult. But no, I just love doing that movie.
You studied at Lee Strasberg School, is that right?
I studied that method. I didn't study it with the Actors Studio. I studied in London at the Actors Workshop, which was a kind of quasi rip-off of the studio. It was supposed to, it was a Stanislavski method and all that kind of stuff. Yeah, well, we all wanted to be method actors back in those days. If you were a young actor in the early 60s, you wanted to be like Marlon Brando or James Dean or Montgomery Clift, and you wanted to internalize all the time. I think for film, I think it's very good. I think internalized acting is very good. Theatrically, I don't think the method's much use. I think you need to go back and project and know how to stand and expend energy and send energy out to the audience, and that you can't internalize that.
Do you like doing comedy or drama better? Or?
I like the area of fantasy. I like working in fantasy and staying basically in that area. I'm not very hot on doing naturalistic, ordinary, kitchen sink dramas and that kind of stuff. I'm not much good at that kind of thing. And I don't want to do it. I don't want to be in that area. I like I've just been in the Czech Republic making a film with a young American director called Corey Solomon, and it's Dungeons and Dragons, and I have a very small part in that. And of course I did it because I wanted to be in this fantasy movie. The money's shit. It's not going to change my career or give me a boost that way, but I just wanted to be part of it, you know, and I do enjoy it.
You don't seem to have any problem getting work. A lot of actors become so identified, like you with Rocky Horror, they can't get parts. You seem to get parts. What do you attribute that to?
I'm prepared. I'm prepared to do the work. A lot of people aren't prepared to do the work, and a lot of people want to stick out for some kind of idea that they get an inflated notion of their appeal, and they want bigger parts, and they get insulted with a small part. And I go, stuff it. If I want to play the part, I play the part. I can afford not to work, and I can stay at home if I want to. But if I want to do this part, I don't give a monkey's whether it's a big part or a little part. If I want to be there, I'll make sure that I am. And I think the whole process of acting is highly suspect anyway. You know, it's a lot of it is to do with exhibitionism. A lot of it is to do with narcissism. A lot of it is to do with love me please, applaud me please, and all the rest of it. So it's a very suspect, dressing up as somebody else and making believe, very suspect kind of process. So I take that on board very much, and I'm happy to be there and do it.
You're so open to the fans, like with the Rocky Horror group and everything. Do you think more actors should be like you?
I think people should be the way they are, be themselves and be natural. I think everybody should be. That's a message for everybody, and I wouldn't tell other people how to live their lives. I think there are a lot of people that play the power game simply because they're scared, and so therefore they and I've worked with some of them, and they go to the trailer and they don't talk to anybody, and they play that kind of aloofness and power game because they want more money. And if I'm accessible, I'm not going to get more money. If I'm accessible, I'm not going to get the work. I think that's the kind of way they go, and they start to play the star routine because they think they won't get the respect. And then it's quite possible that they're absolutely right, but it don't work for me, and it doesn't wash with me. I couldn't live like that. I am an accessible person, and I like it that way. I like human beings, and I like being in life, and I like talking to people. And I'm very happy to do that, and that's just the way I am.
Now, Shock Treatment, a lot of people say it's a sequel to Rocky. A lot of people say it's not.
Shock Treatment is an abortion, really. It started as a true sequel. Rocky Horror shows his heels. The Brad and Janet show, we went through various kind of titles, and Monsters rose from the dead, and Janet was having Rocky's baby, or Frank's baby, or even Brad's baby. We weren't quite sure, and it was that kind of journey. And Jim Sharman, our director, said, "I don't want to do that." And what we should have done was said, "Well, Jim, you go and make the movie you want to make, and we'll find another director, and we'll develop this storyline." We didn't. And we went through about 7-8 drafts until it got further and further away from what it was supposed to be in the beginning, until we had Shock Treatment, which really got lost. The songs became non sequiturs, and the storyline was muddy. However, the soundtrack is brilliant, I think. I love the soundtrack from Shock Treatment. I think it's better than the soundtrack from Rocky. The songs are better. I think I matured in my writing. I think Richard Hartley's a genius when it comes to arranging and producing music. I'm very happy with that.
In Shock Treatment, they had an audience that was constantly at them. Was that a nod to the kind of cult status of the Rocky Horror?
I would be very careful. I never thought about that, but I think truthfully it was probably actually not a very pleasant reference to the way people get caught up in fandom. But it was more about truly it's about the Truman Show. It was the Truman Show 20 years before the Truman Show, about how people get involved in, and it's more and more true today with the internet and with that kind of area, with computer living, virtual reality. People are losing touch with reality, and they're living insular lives and getting confused with between the fantasy and the reality. And I think that's sort of something we should look at. I think there were certain areas, sociological issues in shock treatment which were fascinating and worthy of exploration. It wasn't what I intended to do with my show. I wanted it to be a real horror sequel, B-movie horror sequel.
Which was that?
Yeah.
Was that what has been mentioned as the Return of the Old Queen? Then?
Revenge of the Old Queen was more of that, more of. I like the Revenge of the Old Queen as a plot line. I think it was very good. Well, we had a problem there with Joe Roth. Not that Joe was a problem, but he commissioned it, and then he left Fox, went to Disney, and of course the incoming it wasn't green-lighted, and the incoming new head of Fox went, I'm not taking on other people's projects. I got my own projects. This always happens. If we'd got the green light, if we'd got to the stage where we got the green light from Joe, we would have moved with that. But things changed. The head of the Fox changed, and we got lost in that shuffle.
Is there a chance it still might?
I don't think so. I'm quite happy to leave it behind. What I'm doing now, and I hopefully will get it together. I don't know. I'm very sloth is part of my problem. I'm very slothful. I don't see it as a sin. I see it as a kind of gift, and my avoidance skills are improving on a daily basis. And I'm supposed to be writing the Rocky sequel, going back and taking the bits from Shock Treatment, the original storyline, and developing that for the stage. That's what I'm working on at the moment, but not very quickly, and it's supposed to be ready for January. And I'm afraid I might have to get somebody else to come in and make me work. So that 10 o'clock every morning, I do actually work from 10 till 4, because I don't do it. I get up and I go to do it, and I go, oh, stop it.
Well, you have a new CD out now, too, Ultimate O'Brien.
Absolute O'Brien, yeah. Nice album, cool and groovy.
It's only released in England, or?
Just going to be released here on September 7th.
Oh, great.
Yeah.
Who's going to be released it over here?
Rhino Records.
Okay.
There should be a copy here today.
Yeah,
I'll
great.
give you one.
Absolutely.
You ask the right person. Nice music, kind of slightly jazzy. It wasn't intended to be, it just kind of finally worked out their way. The through line, the musical through line, it kind of took on that kind of shape. Even though some of the songs are slightly rock-oriented and some of them are slightly western, country western. Even the country songs have got a jazz feel to them, strangely. I don't know how that worked.
Your taste in music really varies then.
It's pretty broad. I like ego-free zones, especially in music, especially vocally. I love vocalists that are ego-free. Billie Holiday, ego-free voice. Chet Baker, ego-free voice, and I like that. And that's what I tried on this album to make it an ego-free zone. That the voice was back in the track and wasn't trying to be a show-off voice. And there's been too many show-off voices of late. Some of them are very good, the Whitney Houston end of it. And but you see, Michael Bolton could improve from taking on board that less is more, because he's got a great voice, but he just gives it to us full bore all the time, and there's nowhere to go. He saved it all back, and then just gave us that kind of excitement, thrilling excitement every now and again. We go, ooh, how sexy. But if you come on like gangbusters from day one, there's nowhere to go. You peak too early. And it's too much ego in the voice. It's too much show-off. And I find that with a lot of singers today. Those diva shows that they've had on television, you must have watched. 5 girls on stage. It's like having 5 lead guitarists on there trying to outplay each other. And it's just, at the end of the day, it's just too much.
Did you get a chance to view David Arquette and the new production of
Unfortunately, I didn't get to see David. I got there after the change, and so I thought the cast were great. I didn't actually see David's performance then.
Do you think Tim Curry would ever do a return of Rocky if there ever was?
I don't think so.
You don't think
No,
so?
I wouldn't think so.
Okay, well, I appreciate it. Let me just ask you one more quick thing.
Okay.
What are some of your favorite horror sci-fi movies?
I think Rosemary's Baby is excellent, and I think that's very good. What was it? No, I won't think it on. What was the night? What was the night? Not the Night of the Living Dead. I'm trying to think of the Dana Andrews one that I quote in science fiction.
Oh, okay,
double
you're
feature.
thinking of, I know.
Night of the Demon.
Right. Yeah.
I think that's great. I like anything with Vincent Price in it, just because I like watching him so much. The way he was walked that line of comedy and horror at the same time was just very clever, very entertaining. I absolutely abhor the slash horror movies that have proliferated in the last 10 or 15 years. I think they play. I went, no, we own them. Fox said, no, we own them. And I said, no, I don't think so. I think you've already found these rights are mine. No, I tell you what, we own them, and I'll tell you something else. That if you persist in muddying the water, we're going to hit you.
How did I end up with a red Sharpie?
Yeah, I spoke to Lou and I said, this is no good. I said, what do I get out of it? If it goes back in the pot, they own it, and it goes back in the rocky pot. I get £0.5 on the Mars bar. Why should I give it a thing? He said, well, I'll give you $10,000. He said, as what do you call it? Somebody that's an advisory kind of capacity. I said, we're starting to get there. So we're starting to get there. And so we had these talks, and then after that had gone on, they sent me. They sent all these forms across to my solicitor saying, would you sign these releases then? No.
Yeah, really?
No. You say you've got the rights. If you're sending me forms to relinquish my rights, that means I've got rights. In which case, we better have a different fucking conversation.